Hi everyone, today I thought I'd draw one of my favourite dogs, the Border Collie. This is a 4-hour drawing which has been time-lapsed back to about 8 or 9 minutes. What I've done is I've also added the colours I'm using, which are Prismacolor, in the top right hand corner of each of the frames as I go through the stages. Step 1 is blocking in the background. I've used a Prismacolor 1099 Espresso here, which is sort of a dark chocolate brown. And I've used this for all of the dark fur on the Border Collie. It's fairly random in terms of some of the strokes, but I've tried as best I can to follow the direction of the hair growth in the fur. This will make it much easier later when you're finalising the detail and the dark shadow areas in the Border Collie. It also makes it look a lot more realistic. I have started with the right side of the face. Perhaps in hindsight I should have started with the left so I don't smudge the paper and the colour pencil, but I am wearing a smudge proof glove which helps. The drawing doesn't have to be perfect at this stage. What we're trying to do is to get some colour on the paper, and we're also adding some tooth to the surface so that we're in a position to add multiple layers as we go through. This is being done in 6 steps from the initial blocking in to finalising the highlights. It is not a photorealistic representation of the Border Collie photo, but a more fun, I guess relatively realistic representation. I'm going over the background again, filling in some of the lighter areas that I missed initially. What I've done throughout this exercise is I've frequently sharpened the pencil to make sure it makes those fairly sharp strokes as we go through. I'm now adding some yellow here. This is a Prismacolor Jasmine and it's fairly bland in those areas but forms a good base for the subsequent brighter yellows and oranges on those patterned areas of the dog. I'm now adding some cool grey to the nose and blocking in, and I'm using circular strokes here which tend to follow the texture of the nose. The eyes are the most important part of the drawing, and I'm now looking at the dark areas around the eyes with a Prismacolor Black. You could use an Indigo blue, but I prefer the black. It brings out the lighter areas and creates a lot more contrast. I'm also adding a little bit of blue. Colour blending these areas quite gently. Next is the texture on the fur and around those areas which are likely to be the darkest, and this will emphasise the fur growth and also add some depth between the layers of fur. By following the texture of the fur, it also emphasises the skull underneath of the dog. The Colorless Blender is also being used to blend the strokes that I've made. This smooths the areas as they transition from light to dark and adds a very nice finish. With the nose, to replicate the texture of the nose, I'm actually doing little circular patterns. These will gradually disappear, but it will look a lot more realistic as you build on that with your greys and your shading and your darker areas. The darkest darks are obviously the upper inside of the nostril. You can now see the shape of the face coming out, and I'm just adding a little bit of cool grey here for blending, and also this creates a nice fur texture in transition between the very lightest fur and the darkest fur around the nose and the middle of the forehead. For the lightest lights or the highlights, I'm using a Sakura Jelly Roll white marker around the eyes and to extend the white whiskers, which would be almost impossible to do if you were to use just a white colour pencil. Well, I'm quite happy with this, and I think I can say it's finished, and I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.